It's been quite some time since I updated my best Payday 3 build video, so long in fact we have 7 new skill points to play around with, completely reworked skills to take advantage of, and a new armor type that has entirely changed the game for the better. A few people have requested I put together a build for 2024 as of update 8 to get you primed and ready for the upcoming heist between now and September. And it just so happens, with how the game is currently balanced, the setup I'm about to walk you through is pretty damn close to infallible, whether playing solo or particularly within a crew, blending immense one-shot kill potential with an endlessly replenishable resource and the ability to become temporarily immortal thanks to Kknowley. I'm willing to bet that this is currently the undisputed best build in Payday 3, although I welcome you to come and dispute it down in the comments. Even better, whilst I do recommend a DLC weapon from the Boys in Blue weapon pack in the secondary slot, that's a minuscule difference maker, so even if you don't own the gold or silver edition, the core parts of this build are entirely accessible. Oh, and just in case you were wondering, the VF7S featured in my previous video, especially after recent cutting shot changes, remains totally viable. You could comfortably run the old build with a few additional skills to look something like this, and still perform incredibly well with minimal effort or adaptation. Hell, adding the G3 or Adelig RG5 from the Boys in Blue weapon pack makes it even stronger now, but we can do so much better than this, trust me. Let's dive into the build. But first, really quickly, I have to share my admiration for the guys over at Apex Gaming PCs, given how well they've handled our now long-running partnership. They don't put any pressure on me to integrate early into videos, so the promotions never interrupt the flow of my content. But just this once, I thought I should draw your attention to my link in the description before going further. You see, prices are substantially down as of a few months ago, after positive discussions with partners, and the good news just got even better for fans of this channel, as for 4 weeks in July you can get a store-wide 25% discount using my usual code Kknowley. This is the cheapest the range has ever gone, and quite possibly will ever go, so if you've been on the fence thus far, now's the time to check them out from the link below. Many thanks, let's go break Payday 3. Alright, you might be bored of it by now, especially with all the fun additions such as the Blyspruiter LMG, but undoubtedly the best weapon in the game as of the Boys in Blue update is still the SA-A144. It's actually not even close. This one-shot killing marksman rifle that was ludicrously buffed by the changes to precision shot can eviscerate all enemy types barring dozers in a single bullet. Even after cutting shot was changed to no longer impact armor penetration, this thing can still one-shot kill all standard unit types, including heavy SWATs, with body shots, only needing to land accurate headshots versus shields with the 5x scope, whilst removing dozer faceplates and putting them down completely in just 5 accurate rounds. That's almost as fast as the Red Fox. It is worth mentioning this comes with a slight downside, that being you need to either run the 5x or 6x scope for that damage bonus multiplier. These are fine for the most part, although the scoping animation isn't the cleanest, and don't get me started on the glare issue. Some heists are worse than others, none more so than Boys in Blue itself, which is often a blinding blur if you're looking out towards the parking lot. So I think it says quite a lot about just how strong this setup is, if it's worth blowing out your retinas for. If you're not willing to endure the strange scoping mechanics of Payday 3, there's honestly no shame in retreating back to a slightly less overpowered, but still equally capable weapon, such as the aforementioned VF7S, or if you're a lucky DLC owner, the Adelig, as both of these guns were pretty much unaffected by the cutting shot changes, and can still land those key one-shot headshots on heavies. If you do switch over, you can save that point in precision shot for a little extra utility somewhere else in your build. But if you don't get motion sick at the sight of constant scoping in and out, I seriously do recommend you try out this build, set up with the sole focus of getting the absolute most out of the SA rifle and keeping you on your feet no matter what the situation, with effectively endless armor regen and a massive health pool to tap into. Sound good? Let's start with how I set up my SA within this build. I first equipped the CQC barrel, quick pull mag for combat reload resets, the torque silencer for assassin procs, the 5x fluted marksman scope to activate precision shot, perforated grip, angled ghost grip, and HQ stock. Essentially, the idea is to give it the best targeting speed I possibly can to help with scoping in and out quickly, because the SA does the rest of the heavy lifting with just its base stats. As for the secondary, I think we have a fairly clear winner these days thanks to the addition of the Bull Kick 500 Magnum. Just like a pocket SA, this thing is a one-shot machine, even to the body, so if you're caught in a must-reload situation, you can basically switch into this for a few guaranteed kills to release the pressure you might be under. I have a fairly similar mindset in terms of how I modify this, using the CQC barrel alongside the snapshot clear tag sight, tactical grip, and compact compensator. Obviously, despite being my go-to secondary on most builds at the moment, one issue is that you can't silence it, so if Assassin Synergy is your priority, I say go with the Silent Strike 7, or if you want a similar weapon to the Bull Kit but don't own DLC, just default back to the Sforza Bison. It requires a little more accurate shooting, but this alternative revolver still lands one-shot headshots on all common unit types with just edge, and has much more forgiving handling than the Bull Kick. Let's be honest, the secondary is mostly there for decoration, as the SA should be doing 99% of the work within this build. Speaking of, let's get into the skills. For the sake of this guide, I'll be picking them up in order of importance, with 15 core skills and 12 luxuries that you'll want to build into as you level up. First up, we grab Sharpshooter, Long Shot, and Precision Shot, as these skills are core to making the Scoped SA the one-shot kill machine you've already seen. From here we want Enforcer Basic and Combat Reload to sustain that edge and also activate Grit by picking up close range double kills. Mower into Ammo Funnel and Replenisher next to keep you endlessly ammo positive, and activate another skill synergy after we spec into Ammo Specialist, Scrounger, which is one of the best skills in the game quietly, and Plate Up, allowing us to reset any damage we take on our adaptive armor after each kill with Grit active. Clean Slate at the end of the tank tree is next, enabling us to sustain at least one plate of adaptive armor at all times, even if it happens to break, before we head up to the Medic tree for extra charge and triage to buff our equipment of choice. Core build in place, Fortitude becomes the next priority, acing out the base skill before skipping Health Siphon but equipping Unyielding, Super Physiological, Walking Tall, and Pain Asymbolia. Transporter is the key utility to focus on next, securing Beast of Burden for bag carrying speed, Deep Pockets for a second medic bag, and Powerlifter for that all-important second bag pickup. We round out our team utility and healing with Stockpile for 4 more total medic bag charges, grab Assassin for an endless and easily managed source of rush upon kill, and spend a final point on Speed Aim for an additional 20% faster scope speed. This final point is totally up to your discretion though. With the recent Cloaker epidemic, I can see an argument for grabbing Disengage or even recoil handling here if you struggle to land consecutive shots when already scoped in. Tinker around with it and see what you enjoy running most. With 28 skill points to toss around, you don't need to make too many build sacrifices these days. Rounding off this build, we run the Red Fox, adaptive armor lining, of course medic bags, shock grenades for insta kills against shields, and whatever tool suits you best, finalizing what I'm comfortable calling the best and easiest to use build in the game. Now, just recently I have tried changing it up slightly whilst doing more live testing for this video. I found that if you don't personally vibe with the medic bag approach, armor presents a perfectly viable variation, especially if you're really confident with this sort of setup and the mechanics around staying armor healthy. By switching off Fortitude, you can save a whopping 6 points, losing a safety net in the process, but allowing you to pick up some really valuable skills, especially for when playing solo. With the 6 points already saved, plus 2 I drop in Medic Bag focus skills, you can invest in Medic Ace, Combat Medic and Code Blue, which allows you to easily revive your lemming teammates, babysitting them through the heist when in solo mode. This is one of the cheesiest and most busted strategies in the game at the moment, comboing rapid revives with damage resistance during the animation and 5 seconds of complete immunity after doing so, setting you up for some of the craziest plays you can imagine. It's simply a must-have when playing with the AI given their complete lack of self-preservation, allowing you to convert your more controlled long-range build into a really scrappy setup. From here I then invest 3 points into the tank tree, grabbing Hardy and extra plates to support this armor build. Hardy is particularly necessary up against dozers, as it allows you to freely sacrifice a weak adaptive armor plate to quickly take them out in the brief 2-second window it grants, or else your reduced health bar will get decimated. With the final 2 points I like to grab Cutting Shot for collateral potential, just amping up the SA even more, and Quick Reload just to make the incessant reloading this build encourages a little more bearable. This setup lives or dies by your ability to top up armor constantly and always avoid taking health damage, which is totally possible for experienced players. But whilst cloakers are the nightmare they currently seem to be, I find it hard to recommend to newer players, as the direct health damage they deal can feel almost unavoidable, with this build giving you fewer downs to play with and a smaller health pool to await rescue. It's fun, but run at your own risk, or if you're purely a solo player and need to focus on keeping your silly crew AI alive. I think it's pretty great that armor builds are coming full circle and becoming highly viable again, so at the very least I wouldn't count out this version of the build altogether. Back onto the real star of the show though, some of you might be wondering why the so-called best build in the game feels so unfocused. Leaning on armor, health, adrenaline, and still being able to take transporter skills just seems like we're spreading ourselves a bit too thin. but to answer simply, that's just how the game is balanced right now. Adaptive armor was designed to not maximize fortitude setups, as you're stuck with 3 downs instead of the maximum of 5, but it just so happens that Adrenaline itself is strong enough to still be properly leveraged without fully committing to it. I play around the idea that this is an armor regen build aiming to emulate my old armor gating anarchist days in Payday 2 by keeping the adaptive armor topped up via the plate up crit replenish combo. If I happen to lose that armor, it's not a massive deal as I still have an increased health pool to fall back on, whilst I locate an armor repair kit to recycle that first plate continuously. If I really cock up or feel like I need to make a risky play, I can always drop my medic bag to protect that armor via adrenaline, allowing me to sustain and stay safe much longer into a heist, and giving me a second wind late on thanks to the massive buffs offered by Pain Ass and Bolia. That's the survivability strategy covered, but when it comes to killing with this build, the SA does most of the hard work. Just perform on par within your own little point and click game, and you'll be clearing space for the crew and dropping more ammo for them without too much effort. Not to mention, the SA is one of the most ammo efficient guns in the game, so you never really need to worry about trigger discipline, hence why I wouldn't even bother with skills like recoil handling. Of course, it's not all glamorous. The most important mechanic to track in this entire build is the edge and grit combat reload reset. With how rapidly both your weapons reload, you basically have no excuse not to maintain 100% uptime on both of these skills, just needing to reload with shots still in the mag to fully reset the cooldown on both. It's that micromanagement that really annoys me in Payday 3 rearing its ugly head again, but at the very least this one doesn't require you to jump through multiple hoops, mantling over desks or bashing your head against a wall to maintain. I'd rather just land headshots with sharpshooter ace if I could, but sadly it's a necessary evil if you want to reset grit too, and if you're anything like me and obsessively reload your weapons anyway, it's comfortably the least intrusive way of maintaining these key buffs throughout a heist. Because remember, without edge, you'll lose your one-shot kill potential as precision shot will deactivate, and without grit, you won't be able to armor gate as plate up will switch off. When the alternative to chaining together reloads is standing still and scoping in for 1.5 seconds, you know what I'm picking every time. Combat reload doesn't slow the game down much and keeps you powerful. There are a couple of higher skill stealing mechanics to keep in mind, for example making sure you stack up buffs before using your medic bag to get the most out of triage, or hitting only headshots at long range to maximise the value of long shots and remove your weapon's damage drop off. But otherwise, you really don't need to worry about much outside of keeping up your grit and edge and hitting the occasional shot. Overall, regardless of the build variant you choose, it's important you play around what you enjoy most in Payday 3. If that's taking up the fight against dozers and clutching with the crazy bonuses of adrenaline, go with the medic build. If it's self-sustaining and playing faultlessly that you get a kick out of, the armor variation would be my go-to. And hell, if you just enjoy assisting your team consistently throughout a heist, maybe consider splashing some manipulator skills into the build, as there is room for creativity. Regardless, just remember to bring the SA along and you'll be deleting every cop in sight in no time. So that's the best build in Payday 3. Normally, these things are highly contentious, but I think you'll have a hard time arguing against this. One thing I will say for Payday 3 since it launched back in September is that we have actually started to establish some new and distinct playstyles, even if the core of most players' builds looks identical. Beyond a pure meta setup like this one, there are now other builds that are entirely viable on Overkill. Smoke resistance builds, shock armor stripping, and even explosive focus setups still have their place after recent ammo bag and marking skill buffs, so I would like to cover these in a more generalised build variety video like I did closer to launch, if there's an appetite for it and you don't just want to be slaves to the meta like I am. Let me know, and of course rightfully grill me for my use of the word best when titling this video. This time I've done the legwork in the lab and I'm ready for whatever fisticuffs we get down to in the comments. In all seriousness, thank you so much for watching this video and all your support on the channel recently. Discussion around the Payday franchise has been a lot more civil and nuanced recently, which I'm exceptionally grateful for. We're pretty much all on the same side here in wanting Payday 3 to succeed in the long term, and I'm genuinely so pleased to have cultivated an audience that's willing to debate the state of the game down in the comments or live on stream in good faith. To be frank, we're the ones keeping the legacy of this series alive, and we're absolutely its best chance of success moving forwards. Try out the build, enjoy Boys in Blue, and I'll see you all very soon. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.